Hi there! So I just started making a new game, this little racing game here that I've been working on this past week and that I really enjoyed working on. And this here is what I've got so far. So I started this more or less on a whim. I intend to finish it during this upcoming week, and then when it's done I'll put it out on itch.io for free, and when it's done I'll put a link down below so you can go and download it if you want to. So recently I made this game here called Booze and Betrayal, which I finished in only 4 weeks, and that's available on itch.io for free as well, so there's a link down below if you want to check that out. And I just had a little break now before I start my next slightly larger project, which will last for 3 months, and that I originally planned on starting on March the 1st, but partly because I started this project and I really enjoy working on it and I want to finish it, and also for family reasons I decided to just postpone the start of that until March the 12th, and then I'll be working on that one until the end of May or beginning of June. And by the way, making these games is part of my plan to learn game development throughout this year, 2022. And I will be documenting with regular devlogs, so make sure to subscribe if you want to join me on that journey to learn game development. Anyway, back to this game. So one of those things that I find deeply satisfying is to watch something grow from just being like a vague idea, and then it just grows and becomes something. And for this one not being planned at all, it's just suddenly this, and that's just really fascinating to me. So I started by making something in Krita that I just intended to be a placeholder in it for the first track, but that ended up being what is now the first track, because there will be more. And then I added a car, messing around with trying to rotate it, mixing up the radians and degrees, of course, as you would do. And then I made it drive around, making it slide and drift, which I thought was pretty cool. And then I added some tire tracks, which I spent way too much time on and then just decided to drop later on. So what about the opponent's cars, how to make them drive around? Obviously there needs to be some method to that madness. First I thought of making checkpoints and make them drive towards that, and then I thought of paths, and then I came across this website here from kidscancode.org with something called context-based steering. And although I don't think I understand all the maths and stuff here, I was kind of surprised how quickly I managed to make this work, and at least good enough. And the cars are not very clever, they just like kind of follow the path and avoid obstacles in front of them, but that will work for enemy AI for now, I think. But then what would a death race game be without some means of destruction? So I added a missile, which at the start had this crappy looking sprite here. It looked more like an arrow, like the car's got a built-in medieval crossbow or something. But I made it work, and I had it slow down the cars upon impact. And eventually I changed up the sprites and added explosions, because you need to have explosions, right? So one problem or potential problem that I wrestled with a bit was the finish line, for which I'm using collision shapes and area 2Ds. So the problem really is basically how to deal with cheaters, because you need to drive around the entire lap to make it count and not just drive back and forth across the finish line. So anyway, I'll come back to that story later. What I did here I think was just a dead end. And for lap times, I added a timer and a lap counter, which just made me realize what a time sink I created myself, because I just found myself playing the game, kind of excessive game testing, which was fun, but not really productive in the sense of developing the game. But eventually I ripped myself out of that and I started creating a menu, which is simple but functional. It does what it needs to do. There's a main menu and a garage menu kind of, where you can upgrade your car, buy missiles, select which tracks you will race, and also there will be different tiers with increasing difficulty level. So one thing I realized in my previous game, Booze and Betrayal, is that it really sucked on the replayability side of things. So when you played it once, it's all the same after that, and that is something that I need to focus on now with future games. So what I want here is that when you start out, obviously you start out with no upgrades, and as you win more and more races, you can earn more and more money, which you can spend on upgrades and access to higher tiers and so on. It's not revolutionary, but it will really help to make the game more replayable, I think. So that is nice. Yes, so back to the issue of laps and checkpoints and all of that, which I think I managed to sort out now. I had a huge headache trying to sort that out, and after a lot of frustration and spaghettiing up my code, I think I got something that I can work on from here on now. So I got some checkpoints around the track, and I think that as well as dealing with cheaters, I'll be able to use that to have some type of ranking system to show who's in the lead and who's second and so on. So that'd be something that I'll be working on in the coming week. Well, that's all. That's what I got so far. I'll be coding on, finishing this in the coming week. And when it's done, I'll put it out on itch.io. And I'll also put the link in the description when it's finished. So if you like this video, do give it a thumbs up. And if you want to watch future videos, devlogs, or maybe more tutorials, do click the subscribe button. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you around.